everyone. Today I wanted to show you how I build an automatic feeder for the chickens. Me and my family, we decided to build a chicken coop to have a couple of chickens just for fun. It's meat birds, and I wanted to feed them automatically following a timer. I don't want to just give them a lot of food when we're leaving for a weekend or something. And I couldn't find anything online, so I designed something, and I'll show you how I actually designed it and how to build it. It's relatively simple to build. The only problem, I think, for most people is that in my case I use my 3D printer to actually print two major pieces that I used. So anyway, I'll show you what you will need for the build-up. Okay, so what you will need, so my actual idea was to actually use a bucket that I'll be able to feed full of grain, filled with grain. And I was like, maybe I should try to find some kind of worm feeder and have grain to fall into it, and and have that connected to a motor, an electric motor. So my idea is to actually, I need a bucket, I need a pipe, that's a 3-inch drainage pipe, I need a motor, I need a timer. To be able to connect my timer and my motor, I needed a 110 volt converter. That's a 12-volt motor. So this thing, I can plug it in the wall, and I have some flexibilities, and I have one little piece here which I can use to connect to my motor. So that's what I'm going to do. So with all that, I was like, I need to build something so I can have grain that fall into a pipe and that is pushed outside of the bucket. So that's where you need a 3D printer. I actually printed a worm like that, which is designed for my setup. The Sketchup, I did it with Sketchup, and it's available, the plans are available in the link below. Okay, and you also need this thing that I designed. That is the piece where you put your motor, and the pipe will actually go like that. So I've designed it that well, which is the design is in the link below as well, and I made a lid for it. Anyway, I'll show that later on. For the pieces, this is a 12-volt motor with gear. It's a 5 RPM motor. I'm not sure if it's too fast or too slow. The idea is that my timer is precise to the minute. So I was saying, okay, well, the timer will run for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, depending the amount of grain I want the chicken to get. So the amount of time and the speed of your motor and the size of your worm and the number of loops of your worm will affect the amount of feed, the speed of food delivery, which you'll have to manage yourself. In my case, after that, when everything's built, I'll try it to evaluate the amount produced. So anyway, this motor was 20 bucks Canadian on Amazon, and I a normal timer, digital timer also, and I also bought that on Amazon. So I guess I'll put the link below if you want the same thing. The motor, you can have faster motor like 10 RPM or slower one like 1 RPM. 1 RPM is kind of slow, but it's really strong. So I don't know, we'll see if it will work. To connect the motor, you'll need little screws that goes there. In the design, I planned it with little holes. I put little holes. So anyway, those screws, I found them with my computer supply. I had lots of screws from computer supply, and I had all that there. Oh yeah, and you also need those to actually hold your pipe with that way. So good. That's the goal. Now I'll start putting everything together. So my worm is printing. That's the second half of the worm. The first one is done and it's right here. I'll glue them both together when both will be done. Okay, so I printed both sides of my worm. I did a mistake, however, I didn't print the second piece I printed. It was an old version without that little knob here, so that's a little annoying. But anyway, we'll try it anyway that way. So we have to glue them together. I'll do that. Okay, so it's well installed. I'll just let it dry like that. Great. Okay, so I needed to make the pipe where the worm actually goes. So the food will go there. So I cut the pipe. In my case, my printer allows me to do a 6-inch worm. So I wanted the pipe to be a little shorter, so it goes off, the feed will go off the pipe into that 90 degrees that I'll put later on. So the pipe in my case was 5.9 inches, and then I've cut an opening inside. I kept one hard piece here and one hard piece here to be able to use this to fix it on the other pieces that I'm building right now. So both, I'll have one there and one there to hold it strong. And then, so I'm not showing you how I cut that because I'm not really proud of myself. I used my miter saw, it wasn't really safe. And I also made the opening a little bit larger with a file. So I guess if my 3D printer could do longer prints, I would maybe have done a larger one and a slighter angle to actually get even more feed. Okay, so when I designed the worm, I made a hole that was designed perfectly for the shaft of the motor. However, I made it really tight, and because the printer is not perfect, it doesn't fit well. I was expecting that. Maybe I should have made it just a little bigger, but I really wanted to be sure it was tight. So what I'll do, I'll try to make both fit together. So I'll use my air dryer and warm up as much as possible this piece and try to force it inside. Hopefully it will work. So it didn't work, it didn't go through. It's like if I'm pushing plastic, so it makes it harder and harder to push. So I'll just try to remove a little bit of the plastic with the drill. After that I'll eat it again and push it more. So it worked with both the drill, a little bit with the drill and mostly with the air dryer. I was able to fit it in. Sadly, the mistake I made with the little knob that wasn't on my second part of the worm makes it really not ideal. Anyway, it looks like it's holding together. I'm not planning to glue it there, but hopefully I won't have to, but if I have to, I'll do it. But the shaft of the engine has a little knob here, like a little part that is straight, so it should not be needed because I've designed it in the worm. Nice. Now I am going to solder the wire for the motor, because those wires were actually not coming with the motor. I actually had to they're old telephone wires that I just used, so I'll solder them there. Okay, so I'm going to solder the two wire on the motor. I don't need much. Good, so that's done. I twisted the wires so it just more solid. Now I can put the motor in that enclosure that I've built. It fits well. It's really strong, so I'm happy with it. However, when I designed it, I made a little mistake, which I'll probably fix before putting the plans online. That's a little lower than it should be. It should be just slightly higher, and making it a little tight over here. Anyway, so you can take the wire and put it that way. And now what I need is this piece that I'll fix here. Right now, no, I don't remember. I think I decided that the plus was the yellow. I'm not sure. So I'll connect the plus yellow and the minus black. However, I'll have to validate that the motor is rotating on the right direction, because I want the food to go out and not to go in. So I'll just try it. If it doesn't work, I'll just switch it. Just invert the polarity of the wires, and that should be fine. Okay, so I've connected it, I soldered it. Now the power is on. So if I plug it, it's turning, so that's good. And it's turning counterclockwise. So let's validate, let's check if it's good and plug it. So that's my screw. So if it's counterclockwise, it will go on the right. It will go perfectly. It will go out. The food will go out. So that's nice. That's done. So it works. I'm happy. Now we have to screw. We'll screw the motor. So I have my 4 little screws. Hopefully it will fit in the holes I build with the printer. If I want you to see. Nice. Perfect. So I was planning the fact that there will be a screw here, and that's why I decided to make a knob right here, actually, to make sure the screw was going to be higher when it will turn and not hit the screws. Hopefully that will work. Right. Okay, so I'll put all the other screws and we'll connect back. Okay, so I've put the 4 screws in. Now I'll put the worm. Hopefully it will still fit. Good. Okay, so the worm is there. Now my pipe that was prepared should go here, and so that was the plan. So it's nice, and the idea was to actually use this to hold it in place. Okay, so I'll put it right there, and then my screwdriver. Long arm. This box is to have actually one piece that will be perpendicular, so that allows me to have the motor and the worm that fits together. Okay, I don't think I have to make it too tight. Anyway, it's cheap 3D print plastic, so I want to okay, and then here. Okay, this one is a little too on the side. Okay, so when I look at it, I wanted that to go a little further down, so it comes out of the bucket and go through the wall of my chicken coop. However, the problem is that my printer cannot do pieces that are longer than 6 inches, so my screw is a little too short. I would have liked to have it a little longer, so I don't have that much room in there to get the food. Hopefully it will work anyway. So good, seems like everything's set. Now let's plug it to see if it turns and if it works. The big moment of truth. Nice. So we'll see how it goes with feed, but right now seems like it's working. So this is going to go into the bucket. Oh yeah, and I have this piece too that will be right here, so the food will drop. Nice. I'll unplug it. So now I can put the lid for the electricity. The plan was to put it that way, and I made a little notch right here, so the wire can come out, and then I put the lid. Initially I was planning to use an elastic band to just hold the lid in place, but finally I've noticed it was like maybe I put the lid a little too tight, and I don't think I'll need it. There it is. So perfect. The wire is stuck there. Great, so that's the feeder. That's the feeder that is done. Now I just have to adapt it to the bucket. Actually, the good thing about that is when you have that, you can fix it to anything. A bucket, or a small bucket, a big bucket, anything. If you want more feed, just use a bigger bucket or a... Okay, so I need to make a hole in the bucket so that this can come out. I'll use this tool, which is a 3.5 inches diameter, which should fit perfectly. It may be a little bit tight, hopefully I won't have to file it, but I'm not at the right settings. Come on, there it is. Okay, so my hole is made. Let's try to see if it... Oh, that's perfect. Good. So I'll probably put some silicone or something so water doesn't get in, but normally that's the way it should work, like that. Now in the bucket, if you see, there will be waste. All of the feed that will be around here will never be able to get in. Well, I guess there could be better ways to do it. I could fill it with something, or put some kind of a funnel that brings all the food really into the worm. But I just want to make it simple, and anyway I'll just add more feed if it's needed. So I don't think I'll do anything about that. It's not ideal, but I think it will work anyway. Okay, so I just tested it. It worked, so I'm really happy. I connected it to the timer, which I set for 2:11 p.m. to 2:21 p.m. So we'll see if the timer works at the same time. It's full of feed. Oh, starting. Nice. So it will go for 20 minutes. The first time I started it, it took a little longer for the feed to fall because the screw was empty, but now the screw was full, which makes sense. And then it's starting. And if you look here, you can see that it's moving. Okay, so it finished after 10 minutes. That's a lot of food. So I'll just go inside and measure it. Anyway, that's for me. I'll be able to say, like, let's say I give food 2, 3 or 4 times a day, and just decide, okay, it will be 1 minute every time, or 2 minutes every time, or 3 minutes every time, things like that. I also add, to make sure I'm able to put the lid. In my case, with my drill, I drilled a small hole to get the wire through, and with an X-Acto knife, I've cut pieces here. So now the wire is stuck, and I'll be able to put the lid, and the water should not go in. Great. So I finished the project. I installed it right there. And then the bucket is in the back, like that. I've put the wire and all the connection in a plastic bag, all taped up so it's waterproof. And then the power goes to my shed, where I put the timer. If I press on, you can see the grain pouring in. Good, works. Okay, so the project is over. It works, so that's nice. Some problem that I got, I think the plastic container receiving the grain is not correct, because the chicken actually goes into it. I don't like that, so I'll have to fix that. Apart from that, the whole thing wasn't that expensive. The motor was $20, timer $20, around that, and the power was $20, so $60 total, and maybe $10 for the pipe, and the 90 degree. The rest was scrap stuff that I found around, so it was under $100, which is not too bad. And it seems like it's working well. I didn't say before, but when I timed it for the 10 minutes, it was 8.5 cups of grain that fell in, so that can help us measure it. The worm could go a little faster. If you find a faster engine motor, it will go faster. Anyway, you can adjust it considering your needs. If I had to redo it, I would have liked to actually have a bigger 3D printer, so I could make a longer worm and a bigger enclosure and everything like that, so I have a little bit more flexibility. And apart from that, then I'm satisfied.